Hi guys, and welcome back to Apistogramma. In today's video I'm going to be talking to you about my experiences with the Apistogramma cacatuoides. Now a lot of people have done this kind of video where they go through care requirements and how to breed the fish, but they just rehash things from the internet. So basically what I'm going to do today is talk to you about my experience with them and how I've managed to keep them. In the fish room I have 5 Apistogramma cacatuoides. I have Apollo, my big cacatuoides male. I have Aphrodite, his female, who is in this tank somewhere. I think she's on eggs in that pot. And then over in the display tank, I have Aries, who is the orange flash male, who I can't spot at the moment. A female who is yet to be named, and a young male here, who is a triple red male, who will be moving to his own tank very shortly. So prior to these guys, I did have one Apistogramma cacatuoide triple red male. His name was Aries. He was Aries the first, and he died. He died of a swim bladder, and that was probably my fault. Like very early on in my fish tubing career, and you know I didn't really know what I was doing. I just went to my local fish store, which is a local chain fish store called Maidenhead Aquatics, and I just saw him. He was the only one left in the tank. He was massive. And I thought to myself, I've got to have him, and I took him home. And then I kept him for a good 6 months. He was fine, and then I was doing a water change. I didn't really match the temperature very well, and then that just kind of knocked him out. He never recovered. I tried fits, I tried peas, I tried some sea salt baths, and he just never recovered. And then that's kind of how Apollo ended up with me. So when he passed, I went and got Apollo from a local breeder, and that's where Apollo came from. One thing that I did learn from that experience was that these are very sensitive fish, and the best way to change water is to make sure that you match the temperature and the pH as best you can. So in these setups, in the breeding setups, I've already told you guys that I use RO water, and I mix equilibrium to make sure that the GH is and the KH is all the same, and then the pH stays the same. I test it with my TDS meter, and the temperature I make sure is similar, if not within 1 or 2 degrees, and that seems to work fine. Feeding these guys, I feed them twice a day, if not 3 times a day, depending on if I'm home or not. So I feed one feeding in the morning of frozen food. So I feed either brine shrimp with garlic, brine shrimp with spirulina. I feed a dry food in the middle of the day if I'm home. So I feed the NTS Labs Cichlid 46 pellets, and then in the evening I feed frozen. So they get frozen twice a day, and this helps them to grow really quickly. You know, this guy has been with me for 4 weeks now. I'd say he stayed roughly the same size, but this guy here has really taken off in the last couple of weeks, and he is starting to get big, and that's why I'm looking to move him quickly, because when he gets to be the same size as Aries, there will be lots of trouble. They will just fight for territory, and it's obviously a big tank with a lot of high-end spaces, but it will just end up with one of them passing. I'm just certain of that. And this is realistically just a grow out tank before I move them into their own breeding setups anyway. Talked about water quality and feeding. The only other thing that I really concentrate on is the amount of light that they get. So I like to make sure that they're on a light cycle, like a night and day cycle. So I have lights on at 6:45, lights off at 12, lights on at 4 o'clock, lights off at 8. So they get a siesta in the middle of the day, and then there's obviously ambient light in the room from the brine shrimp hatcheries and from the display tank, which comes up from 10 till 7. So you know they're on a 12-hour a day light cycle. I personally believe that's important, because just like us humans, fish need to sleep, and I think that you know that's just something that I've kind of experienced, that they grow better when they're on a cycle, like lights are on, lights are off at certain times of the day. When I was coming in, I was just turning on the lights when I woke up in the morning, and I turned them off when I go to bed at night time. I just felt like they didn't grow as fast, just because they didn't have that set routine of like lights are on, lights are off, lights are on, lights are off. And that's just something that I personally experienced. You might tell me different, you might say different, but that's how I think things work. Breeding these guys, so realistically breeding size male is the same size as my guy here. They will breed before that. they'll breed when they're juveniles, but realistically, for a successful breed, for a successful batch of fry, what you're looking at is a male that's this size and a female that's the same size as his female, which I'm trying to get her to come out of the pot, but he's guarding the area. So what happens when they breed is she'll retreat into a pot or a cave. She prefers this big pot, because it gives her a lot of room. He will fertilise the eggs, which he does a very good job, and then she will stay in the pot for 2 to 3 days, guarding the eggs, moving the eggs if they start to fungus, making sure that all their eggs are nice and clean, and then after 3 to 4 days she will then lead the fry out of the pot. So what I have noticed is that if the male isn't really well fed, he will then eat some of the fry, because they look like food. They look like brine shrimp, they look like microcrustaceans. They just look like small bits of food, and if he's hungry, he'll eat them. She won't, but he will, and then she will guard them. So always make sure that your male's well fed. Some people remove the male. I personally don't like moving fish much. I like to keep them in the same place, keep them comfortable. The more you move fish, the more likely things will go wrong and you'll get fish passing, and that's not something that I ever want. I don't like when fish pass. It's sad. It's they're a part of your family, a part of your life. You see them every day, you feed them every day, and it's not something that you want. So as much as this is like a business and raising fish for profit and to sell them, it's the same thing as that you put a lot of effort into them, and you don't want to see a fish that you've had with you for a year, 2 years that passes because of your own silly mistakes. So I prefer to remove the fry. So as soon as I see them, I'll get a turkey baster in there, I'll remove the fry, and then I will move them into the breeding trays. I have any in here at the moment because I've just moved them to the breeding box, which I'll show you shortly. So I like to split them half and half, and I've been trying an experiment where I clean the tray every day, and one where I don't clean the tray every day, just to see if they grow better with mulm or without, and I've found that they grow better with mulm. They grow faster and stronger. That's just my anecdotal part of it. I always make sure that the water's clean, because I add extra water to the thing, then it circulates from this big tray underneath. This is an 86 litre tray, so there's a lot of water, a lot of volume of water, and it circulates through these ammonia removing pads, which were for an FX6 that I just cut up and covered the holes. So the water is filtered, but I just think that they survive a bit better and they get a lot stronger when they are in the mulm tray. So let's go and have a look at the guys in the breeding stage to this stage where they look like actual little fish. So there is 6 in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one's probably in the weed at the top. So when they get to this stage, I feed them baby brine twice a day, AM, PM. I was trying 3 times a day, but then I got a lot of these to try as worms starting to build up, and obviously that means you have to remove them because they just look unsightly, and it's just horrible. But they get to this stage, and I'll keep them in here for, I'm thinking, 3 to 4 weeks, until they get big enough to go into the grow out tank, which I've shown you guys before, but I'll show you again in a minute. This is my first batch that I've been able to successfully get to this stage, so this is all new territory for me. But I'm just trying things out, I'm doing the best job that I can. I keep the water excellently clean because it runs off of this tank here. I would run it off of the parents' tank, but the parents' tank has a brace in it, and you can't run a breeder box from a braced tank because the water has to drain from the tank, and it doesn't extend into the tank enough. So yeah, these are the fry. Big enough, they're going to go in this grow out tank, and I'll fill it back up, but I can't get back into it. Just at the moment I've been using that water for other things. This is RO water that's the correct solution, so, and I haven't had a chance to go and get any more, so that's where I will put them when they're big enough, and then when they've grown big enough to, I think, the same size as the juvenile male in here that I've shown you earlier, that's when I will take them to the shop and the shop will sell them for me. So that's my experience of the Apistogramma cacatuoides so far, raising them from small juveniles to large adults, to breeding them, to raising them fry. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and I shall see you next time.